The question for today's video, is it worth going the extra mile? Today was an interesting day. I bought a new camera. Well, new to me, it was actually from the Facebook Marketplace, and it's a used Canon T5i. I just needed something that could give me better quality for my YouTube videos, and I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So this is my compromise. Anyway, that's not the actual story. What happened when I went to pick up the camera is the interesting part. And so I noticed this camera earlier today when I was browsing my phone, and it was a good deal. So I arranged with the seller to pick it up in the evening. They were about an hour away from me. So after work, I jumped in my father-in-law's Prius and I drove to Grass Lake, Michigan. We met at the BP station, and it was like a 40 to 50 minute drive there, which I think was worth it for the deal. Anyway, my father-in-law and I have an agreement that I can use his Prius. However, I have to fill it up with gas if it gets down to half of a tank, and it was below half a tank. So I pulled into the gas station that the seller and I had agreed to meet at, and I was a little bit early, so I went straight to the pump, got out of the vehicle, and a young kid approached me. Now, if you've ever been approached at a gas station by anybody, you know it's just suspicious, right? This kid, who seemed like he was maybe 13, 14, walked up to me and said, "Would you like to buy a card?" And it kind of took me by surprise. He held something out in his hand, and I didn't know what it was, but I kind of imagined that it was like a scratch-off ticket or something. And so I politely declined by saying no thank you. And he said something like, "Okay, thanks for your time, have a good day." And he wandered back off to the front of the gas station, where he was just standing, presumably waiting for more people. And so I filled the Prius up with gas, and then I went to the restroom in the gas station because I have the bladder of a tiny mouse. And as I crept out of there, hiding from the cashier, I noticed the boy standing outside again. And curiosity was really getting the better of me at this point. I really wanted to know what this card was. And as I walked out, he said to me, "Have a nice day." And he said it very genuinely. And so I turned to him and I said, "Thanks, what is your card for?" And he told me that he's setting these cards to raise money to send his football team to a camp that will train them to be a better football team. Because I realized at this point that this kid is out there trying to raise money for his football team, but that he really had no plan on how to get people to help him. I almost didn't have the opportunity to help him. And I told him straight up, "You should have told me so. I didn't realize when you said, 'Do you want to buy a card?' that it was to help your football team." I asked him how much it would cost, and he said $15. So I went back into the gas station, found the ATM, I withdrew $20, and also paid $2.99 for the convenience of accessing more of my money than I wanted to. And then I went back out there and I gave him the $20. And he reached in his pocket to give me $5, and I told him that he didn't have to give me the change. In exchange for my $20, he gave me these cards. On the back of this card are discounts at local businesses, such as Mike's Deli, Barney's Barbecue, and Designs by Judy. And presumably these are all businesses that are supporting their local football team. What really strikes me about this story is that this kid was going to spend the same amount of time outside this gas station asking for help, and the only thing that really mattered was the way in which he asked. When he approached me and said, "Would you like to buy a card?" I had no idea that I had the opportunity to help him with something. Had he used the different words, for example, "Would you consider supporting my school's football team by buying a card to help us attend a training camp?" that would have let me know what he was asking for help with. And frankly, I think most people like to help. In fact, it reminds me of something that Steve Jobs had said, that when he was younger and he was trying to build a computer, he actually went through the phone book and found the manager of Xerox and called him and asked if he could send him electrical components. And the manager of Xerox said yes. And he sent him electrical components. The point that Jobs was trying to make is that people typically want to help, but that nobody's willing to ask for help. Just going that extra mile outside of your comfort zone can make all the difference. This also reminds me of one of my first jobs that I had when I moved to America. I worked at a pizza place, and there were a few different people working there, and the manager wanted us to go around this small town delivering flyers that would let people know that they could get a free medium pizza, no strings attached. Now, if you wanted it delivered, you had to order something more, but if you came to the pizza place, you could get a free medium pizza. The goal was to get people to just try it because it was a fairly new pizza place at the time. And so the strategy for most people was to go out, deliver the flyers to the houses by either sticking them to the door or putting them in the mailbox, and then calling it a job well done. However, my strategy was a little different. I felt as though that wasn't going to get us any customers. So instead of just sticking it in the mailbox, I went up to each door and knocked on the door and introduced myself and let every single person know that I talked to that they could get a free pizza. Because let's face it, if you put the flyer in the mailbox, it's just noise. No one's going to notice it. But if you knock on someone's door and you talk to somebody and introduce yourself and you let them know that you're literally there to tell them that they can get a free pizza, they're going to remember that. You're taking a little bit of time out of their day and they're going to remember what you say. And so a couple of weeks went by, and then the manager pulled me aside and told me that he was going to pay me more per leaflet because it had generated so much more interest. And they could tell because we each had a block with the street names that we were doing. And so going the extra mile in that situation actually earned me a little more money. But to me, it was just about doing the job right in the first place. It just seemed pointless to not do that when it would be so much more effective. Anyway, I definitely didn't realize that tonight's video was going to be about this, but that's all I've got, so I will see you in the next one.